So I'm going to do a video about NeoVim. Many of you will be very surprised to hear that I am a NeoVim user now, and all of my streams are on NeoVim, which I absolutely love for lots of reasons that I'll demonstrate and I'll talk about. But in order to, this is also an apology video. So before we get into it, the first thing I want to say specifically to Tej and to Primogen is that I am sorry. I am sorry that I didn't fully understand NeoVim before I chose to not use it. I could have been using it all this time. And there's some really fundamental things that I was wrong about that would have allowed me to use it. In fact, I made a video and I got 4,000 views about NeoVim not following progressive enhancement, the design technique of progressive enhancement. I was wrong about that. I immediately deleted the video. Like once I found out that 3 lines of init config is enough to use my existing vimrc, the same vimrc that I use for Vim and VI and NVI. And yes, I'm one of the 2 people, to quote Prime, who uses VI. Yeah, add my 2 to the tens of thousands of other people who don't make YouTube videos who use VI every day to do their job. And this is both a why video. Why did I not like it originally? Going and wanting to like it. This is a plight I have. And 2, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the NeoVim project. In fact, I was wrong. I was wrong about many things. And one of the biggest things, I poke fun at Lua all the time. It's not that I don't like it. So this video is going to be long, but if you just want the summary, that's at the beginning. If you want to see all the reasons and the sordid history and how I came to be where I am now and how I became a NeoVim user today, I want you to watch the whole video. And we're gonna take it back and we're gonna do it in story form. Okay. So it might be a 10, 15-minute video, but I need to do this because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. And when they ask me about NeoVim and they say, I thought you hated NeoVim, I want to have a video that I can point to so they can look at. Okay, so way back when, you can tell by the numbers on these Zettelcast, on these knowledge node entries, these node entries, when they were done. There's no dates in my system that I made, but and you can see that the oldest of them, 482, was an honest question. It was an honest question. Why should you not use NeoVim? And then you can see, just from the titles of my Zettelkasten entries, you can see how it kind of got, by the numbers, you can kind of see how I got kind of mad. I got kind of mad and kind of hateful and kind of frustrated. And every time that happens, it's almost usually in defense of my choices. Because what happens is, as a live streamer and a YouTuber, you know this, right? People would waltz into my streams in the middle of a coding session without even bothering to ask what was going on. And then they would say, why are you using Vim instead of NeoVim? You're stupid. And you don't believe me, I can show you time. I wish I clipped them all. People would come in and they would say, you're such an idiot for not using NeoVim. And they would attack me for not using it. I mean, how stupid is that? I mean, I know Prime and Teach would agree with it, that that's not the proper behavior. But just like Rust, same thing. I got death threats over Rust. People, they get trendy, they get cultish, they get dogmatic, and because they're anonymous, they feel like they can talk shit about stuff all the time. Well, I'm not anonymous, so I can talk shit. As long as I justify the shit and tell you why. So let me tell you what I started with and why I started out liking. There's other videos of this. You want to go back and see Fat Bearded Rob, you can go watch the other videos, and there's a few that are pretty angry. But let's actually open these up and go through it and do a thing. And then if somebody wants to react to it, you can. So why not NeoVim? NeoVim is absolute shit made by people who should never have been created in the first place. That is not a commentary on the people who made it. This is something I have to be really careful with. I am not attacking the authors. Okay? I can attack something an author makes without attacking the authors. I can say the thing that you made is shit, but that doesn't indirectly mean that I think that you are shit or that you're a bad person and I don't like you. This is something that I think that the generations today, that my generation grew up with, and I think that the generations today don't fully understand. This is the basis of the toxicity, and Prime actually talked about it in one of his videos recently. He's trying to get his head around what is the appropriate, argument and dialogue over there, because it gets pretty, I mean, they're calling each other morons and backbursts and all kinds of stuff. It's like, and he literally called it out. When do you know when this is like healthy, exchange in terms of like IRC, Linux, news groups versus, the more healthy exchanges that you see among the millennial and the Gen Z generation, which, by the way, I think is a good thing. Torvalds has checked himself into to anger therapy to deal with it. I mean, this, you read some of the stuff he says, it's not acceptable for any human being to speak to another human being like that, let alone one of your peer kernel developers. I mean, you would have to be, in my way of thinking, you would have to be the kind of, you'd have to be drinking beers together with your arm around him and say, that's completely stupid, Mr. Rob. You're a moron. And I've had people that I helped mentor tell me that to my face because that was okay. And, you know, Prime made an absolutely fantastic conclusion. He goes, culture starts at the top. And he is so right. And I really, really, really want to live that tenet. I want to live that tenet. And if there's something you can tell from my times from when I had ancient drama with Prime, it's not even worth bringing up, 4 or 5 years ago, and to my time today, if you go look at my streams then and my streams now, the culture of my community, my live streaming community, and my community in general has been positive, right? And quite frankly, my in-person school, the culture was always very positive. We would tease each other and we would poke each other and we'd say, that's totally stupid, but we didn't mean it, and we could tell because we could communicate. But as soon as the whole thing went online, now you're screwed, right? Because not everybody's making a video where you can hear the twinge in the voice, right? Or, you know, I'm always being defensive and overreactive to stuff that gets typed in my chat. Because somebody might be giving me a hard time. There's no way for me to know. I didn't know what a kappa even was when I first started. So I get all, and I'm already, my wife will tell you, I'm already very defensive about everything. So given that climate, you know, it's not okay to talk. I think it's okay to talk shit. People have talked shit about my things that I've made a lot. And I've talked about this before. Chris Nova, the Red Laker Chris Nova, didn't talk shit, but she said, you're doing this. I don't think this is a good way to do this. And I ended up changing because somebody gave me the feedback. All right. So the reason this, I want people to understand that when I first wrote the blog post, why not NeoVim, and I linked to it, that it was because of very solid reasons. It was because I actually tried it. I was like, should I use this new thing that everybody's using? Is VI going to be okay? And I actually, just like Russ, I had to come to the conclusion that it was a bad idea. And here it is, positive things about NeoVim. That's the new one I just wrote. I'm actually trying to find, I broke the whole thing down and I'm trying to find the breakdowns. Why not NeoVim? Oh, wait, there it is. I think this is, anyway. So, actually, it's not even worth talking about it. Let me summarize the main points. There was a video I made and there was a write-up I made, and there was like probably 10 or 15 specific points that I didn't like about NeoVim. And it's not even really important. I mean, they ripped out Perl support and then they added it back. They took out the smile, for God's sake. I mean, why would they do? They were incompatible. They made their VimRC completely incompatible, which isn't completely true. It might have been, when I tried to run it back then, it didn't work. And I mean, there's a lot of things about the NeoVim culture that really rubbed me the wrong way. They weren't giving Brom credit. They were calling their conferences Vim without even asking him. And I found out later that they eventually approached him and they got him on board with it and everything. So but primarily my critique was why, and I was tired of defending myself. And I started saying things like this. People would say, why aren't you using NeoVim? That's kind of stupid. You're not using it. It's like you're throwing away. I had one person say, hey, we can't, it's in the comments somewhere. It's like, you know, old people are going to, you know, we can't save you from being an old person who doesn't adopt new ideas. You know, we can't save you from that. And they were attacking my ability to process new things when I have been predicting new technologies and new things successfully for 25 years. I was the first person coding Go on Twitch. Go count how many people are coding Go on Twitch now. Okay. So it's not like that I'm not an early adopter or that I don't believe in trending things. It's just, I want to know if it's got weight or if it's a trend. And I'm really good at distinguishing the difference. I have been. My life work has been proven that. So when I saw NeoVim, my first thing is like, why? And so people are saying, why aren't you using NeoVim? I'm like, why are you using it? 9 times out of 10, guess what the answer was? I want to use Lua plugins. I'm like, why are you using Lua plugins? And I want to be able to run this thing here, or I want to be able to do this other thing here. And I was like, okay, but you can already do that, right? You know that. And they're like, no, I didn't know that. I said, do you know about the filter command? They're like, no, what's that? Why would I use that? They literally didn't know Vim. They didn't know it. They hadn't fully learned Vim because NeoVim had taught them all these other things and to do things a different way. And it frustrated me and made me angry. I was like, well, why would you do that? Why would you hand away? Why would you throw away finger memory compatibility on any system that's running Vim as opposed to having to install NeoVim? And then one of the stories came up. Let me show you one. So one of the stories came up. It's KN 497, and this one really kind of hit it home for me. This is kind of rough to read, but I'm going to read it anyway. Noob gets reamed for Oh My Z Shell and NeoVim in production. You can't take your NeoVim plugins to your pretty little Oh My G Shell colors into production containers. Sometimes you'll be lucky to have VI, not Vim. I made a video about this. It's VI, not Vi, and not V, and an actual shell that isn't BusyBox, which is a multi-call app, not a shell. The following is based on actual events. Names have been changed to protect the guilty. Below is a chat that happened today in a live stream. While I hold nothing personally against the people who participated, I'm not sugarcoating this. It has to be called out. This will save people the hassle of either getting fired or reamed, a new thing for having senior team members. And this is seriously, I know I'm sounding like angry and hating here, but it's actually in defense of people who are trying to break into the industry, particularly in ops and not particularly except for software development, right? I said, this is why I go to such great lengths to help people understand that all this stuff other streamers and YouTubers do is not professional. This is the height of me getting really pissed off, and I got dark and angry, but I'm not hiding it from you because I'm telling you that my opinion on this has totally changed. I'm going to delete this after this, but I want you to see it before I do, because I want you to see that you should always be willing to change your mind even when presented with new evidence. And so it says here, I said. And this here is a direct attack on the Primeagen. And I admit it, I didn't use the name, and I'm super embarrassed to show this and put this in a video, but I'm owning it, and I'm going to say apology to Prime again. I am apologizing to Prime, and I'm apologizing to Tej, because I was so angry about this happening and being so frustrated that I took it out on them, and I started to attack their skills ad hominem, which is totally wrong. Totally wrong. Even in jest, it's not okay. So there's not even so on a system like that, you're not going to have Z Shell, you're not going to have NeoVim, Optimism, these other technology YouTubers and streamers who love to be seen and have cutesy icons and cutscenes and keyboard cameras and bounce around on bouncy balls. and now I just think it's cute. Honestly, now I just think it's cute, and I've been totally silly. I've actually been clipped, taping my nipples when I was drunk. I get it, okay? It's streaming. It's a different thing. So I got nothing against people who do that. I think it's kind of cute. Perpetually hype casting and like a League of Legends game. Never say only do this on your system, never production. They never say that. And so the noobs get stuck with their sticky fly strip stream and coming away. God, this is horrible. Coming away with seriously bad ideas about how enterprise technology works. These people have never even heard the term change management in their lives. They don't know or care about 4.9's uptime, and they are reasons the BOFH became a thing. If you don't know what BOFH is, it stands for Bastard Operator from Hell, and that's what I would normally be classified in if I was in charge of everything. And I would say, no, we can't have that. You can't have that. And this is kind of a thing. So let's keep going. So these noobs think that adding pretty things to the production will help their proactive contribution. Then you get this. By the way, this has nothing to do with being a boomer. Calling me a boomer because I use VI or I use Vim is pretty damn ageist, and it's kind of a dick move, honestly. I mean, really, there's people that are way younger than me. There's people in their 20s at my work who tell me all the time that I am being too progressive in my use of some of the NeoVim plugins and things like that. So they're like, really? And these are people in their 20s, okay? So this has nothing to do with age. This is what they said. Hello, noob, busy day. Senior ops dev got really mad with me, lol. Hello. Made me uninstall my Z Shell off the production instances. Yeah. Y'all use that? I just use vanilla terminals with Shop and Auto CD. This is somebody in the chat saying this. He said we didn't need that in production, and I think it improves the experience. My machine, my rules. It won't let me do NeoVim plugins either, so I emailed his boss. We'll see what he says. Did he say why? He said that he didn't want all the bloat on the production system, but it gets better. He's not a boom. He's just a boomer. Who did not want that? My senior DevOps manager threatened to take away my production access. Did he seem afraid of your wizardry skills? Well, no, not the lizard, just trying to make things better. Okay, so I'm going to actually inject another story that just happened this week this week, and the person's actually in the chat right now, so don't say anything if you want to be anonymous. Okay, there's a person in my chat who has been saying, please, if whoever it is, please don't confirm this because this is going to go on YouTube. So there's somebody in my chat right now who has to defend themselves for using VI or using even Vim in a development environment, and they're being told, and I quote, VS Code is the only safe way to write code. You make more mistakes with VI and Vim. And this is actually one of those places where, in addition to my apology to Prime and to Tej about getting kind of personal and silly in my attack there, I can actually say, thank God we agree that Vim is awesome. Okay? We agree that Vim is awesome, and we should be focusing on that instead of on our stupid religious differences and this whole catastrophe in the Rust kernel right now and all the toxicity that's been elevated by that has really brought home to me how important it is, particularly with the election right now in a week, that we need to focus on what we agree on and what not necessarily what we disagree on. We can disagree. It depends on obviously the scale of the thing that you're disagreeing about. But that's what I think we should do. And so what I'm trying to say here is that I think the Prime Machine would think that comment about VS Code being less error prone than Vim is rather silly. It's a rather silly thing. And I told him point blank, I said, you should just quit. And I said, and he laughed. And I found out later that he had headphones on, but his team was right around him when he asked the question. He broke out in laughter. And I said, no, really seriously, if a team actually is that clueless, then your only hope is to go find another team. And by the way, thank God for the team I'm on currently. They regularly remind me that I'm getting too progressive, which is so cool. It's so cool. My team is so awesome. I love it. If you find a good team, it is worth tens of thousands of dollars to have a good team. Okay. Not just because they're clueless, they're clued in, but also because they're nice and they're fun to work with, and they're always add a question mark onto the end of their statements as if there's something they could always be learned by there, which by the way is a great tip. If you want to actually get farther in life, instead of declaring everything when somebody says something in a chat or something, put a question mark on it. Just change the period to a question mark. All it's doing is saying, right? Am I wrong on this? And then it's opening up the possibility for a conversation, so you don't look like you're wagging your finger at them, which I have done and do all the time. So, speaking to myself here, think about it. Why do you think something as minimal as BusyBox or Alpine is the most popular image for containers? There's a reason. Now imagine throwing all those optimizations because you're a noob who doesn't know how to blind mount volumes and other stuff to do development work on them locally. Instead, you are going to bloat the entire base image into production. Seriously, you put that stuff, you pull that stuff with me, and it would be the first and only warning. Most would fire you on the spot for that level of absolute unprofessional cluelessness. It's not particularly true. It's just I was really angry. Hate me if you want, but you might as well just keep the job a little longer. Okay, I want you to watch this because I'm going to do it in front of you. I am deleting this. I no longer think any of that. Okay, I was angry. I was like really angry because as you saw, I was defending myself, and people in my community were having to defend themselves and continue to have to defend themselves for even using the terminal. I was using the terminal, and there was a Linux Does Tech. There was a Linux Does Tech stream, and I was one of the ones in there, and they actually put my stream on while I was writing a blog response, and their people were saying only old boomers use the terminal. That's what they were saying. I've seen this comment all over the internet. Guess what, guys? If you don't use the terminal, you can't have a job in tech, in certain areas of technology. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's wrong. And thank God, Tej, the Primogen, low level, all of them, they all agree. They all agree that you need terminal skills. Thank God. Thank God we don't have a disagreement on that. Okay. Just a joke. Yes. VS Code. I actually used VS Code for a year. You can go watch that. I don't think VS Code is lame. That's not what I'm saying. I am not saying VS Code is lame. I am saying that VS Code is likely to cause errors, or less likely to cause errors than other stuff. Right? Okay. So anyway, you can see how this is going. Let's go ahead. Let's do another NeoVim thing. So there we go. And as you can see, so the why not NeoVim, that was kind of the beginning of it. And we're going to delete this one too. There is a video up there for that. And I went through all the baselines and stuff like that. Again, I'm just going to summarize. The biggest complaint I had against NeoVim was that if you burned NeoVim stuff into your fingers and you didn't have NeoVim on a system, you were done if you got on another system. And the people who are pushing NeoVim are programmers usually who are on a laptop. They never leave the laptop. And they have a lot in common. This is why I call it an IDE, even though the goals say we are not an IDE on the NeoVim project. There's another name I think TJ has for it, which is very legitimate. I really like it. I can't remember it right now though. It's not. I think it's a personal development environment. I think the word, and that's a great way to think of NeoVim. NeoVim is like Emacs. The core developers for Linux and other things, they use Emacs. Astronomy people, academics, they love Emacs. They can make it however they want. They can use Lisp, and it's big. It can deal with larger code bases much better than Vim or NeoVim, especially much more better than Vim. Even though the C kernel was written in VI. Yeah, the Unix kernel was originally developed in VI, period. VI stands for, by the way, Visual Mode of Ed. And Ed is the original Linux editor. It still is. And that hasn't changed. Does that mean you should learn it? I think you should. Do you have to? It's up to you. If you're going to be a programmer all day and code all day, fine. But why make yourself why make your skills incompatible on a system that only has VI when you don't really have to, right? And then you can progressively add skills as you have them, just like you can progressively detect abilities in your VimRC, which was the key for me understanding and loving NeoVim. And I'm going to take a little side break here to show you what I mean by that. So my VimRC, which does not get noticed by NeoVim, and that sent me off. I was like, it took nothing for them to just look to see if there's a VimRC there and load it. And then I was really mad. And I was like, why didn't you do that? That's kind of you're kind of being dicks about it. You could have just loaded it, right? And the answer is they're like, well, we can't be sure that you want to use that, right? So the solution I'll show you. So here's my NeoVim stuff in it, right? So my VimRC will run on anything. It'll run on an AIX machine with only VI. It'll run on Alpine. It'll run on anything that's got any of it. Why? Because we have this condition in here that detects whether Lua is a thing, right? And this tells it it's not a thing. And by the way, this stuff right here, if for some reason it weren't compatible, guess where it can go? Yeah, you probably guessed already, right? So .config, all the NeoVim people are laughing at me right now. And yeah, I'm having fun learning something new. But so here we go, init.vim. This is all it takes. All I ever needed to hear from all the people that instead of spending time hating on me for not liking NeoVim, all they had to do was show me this. If they had showed me this, I would have been golden. I would have been golden, and I would have said, okay, fine. If you have Vim on your system, Vim will get used. If you have NeoVim, this will get used. Let me show you how to do this. I'm going to make another video about this. But here's how you decide. So people say all the time, why are you typing VI? I'm typing VI for one very obvious, easy reason. I was raised on VI. That's what my fingers type. They don't type Vim. They never have. So I've always typed VI, and VI has always been the alias for Vim, and that's been the case for every version of Linux that's ever existed. But I've actually used this to my advantage in one additional way in my bash RC, which actually might become a Z shell RC at some day. We're going to do a universal RC and with hard links, and I'll show you that. Stay tuned to see that. Because now that I know some things about Z shell, namely bash completion is supported by Z shell if you add a couple of functions, I'm kind of down with looking at that too. I know what's happening in this universe. Rob has lost his mind, right? So here we go. Here's where we can look at the Vim thing, right? So where's my Vim? Vim is vi-r. I don't know why they removed view from that's not, I wonder if that works. I think one of my complaints, I think they took view out of Vim, of NeoVim. Nope, they didn't. It doesn't look like they did. I don't know. I don't know if they did. At one point, I thought they took it out, and maybe I was wrong on that. I don't know. Anyway, so here's my VI. My VI is actually a command now, and I'm trying to find it. I think it's a function instead of an alias. It might actually be where is it? It's not an alias. Well, here we go. Type VI. So VI is alias to NVim. Okay, but VI is alias to NVim dynamically, and that's what I wanted to show you. So NVim, there we go. Have NVim. So by default, so this is progressive enhancement. So my bash RC says, okay, number one, do we have VI? I've already mounted, VI or VimRC, and I can use it as a VI RC or XRC if I need to, which is the original name. And so then we have Vim. So it says, if I have Vim on here, then set the VI alias to Vim and set my editor to Vim. If I have NeoVim, let's like take it up a notch, right? Progressive enhancement. That's what a PWA, the P in PWA stands for, progressive enhancement. We'll take it up a notch, right? I have JavaScript support. Okay, let's use JavaScript. And, NVim support, alias vi equals NVim, and then it uses NVim. This little thing, have is no, something I added. Yeah. I don't think, does this have GD? Yeah, there we go. Have is just a type check. It just checks the type. Yep. It just sees if it exists, and if it doesn't exist, it goes for it. And the reason I have it as a type check is because if it's an alias, a function, or a executable of any kind, it'll catch it. Which won't catch that. So that's why I'm using type command. A lot of people don't know about the distinction between type command and which. And I think it's super important you do. By the way, I'm going to take this opportunity to plug SkillStack Beginner Boost November 3rd. So we're going to do it. We're going to kick off another one, which is kind of weird timing. But anyway, so that I just wanted to show you how I got using NeoVim, and that was the thing that saved it. So let's actually go back and start deleting out more. I'm going to go delete some more zets with regard to NeoVim that I no longer believe in. NeoVim 5 comes out, further destroying skills. So this is pretty critical. Again, I'm owning how critical I was and the way that I was critical, and I'm apologizing. So I'm sort of a confession here. So hyperextensibility Vim text editor. So hyperextensible, right? Hyperextensible Vim text editor is kind of an oxymoron to a guy like me. Like it's an editor, right? Why the hell do you need to extend it? I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, that's how people like me think about it, and I'm not just talking about old people. Kickoff's November 3rd. Well, we're gonna regroup, but this November 3rd, yeah. Okay, so I can't leave without commenting on how wrong that is, and yet it is a tagline for all NeoVim. If you analyze just the word and grammar choices, you get a very accurate idea of absolute cluelessness of the NeoVim project. This again, I still think that there were many things that when I say clueless, I was clueless about something, and I'm going to admit it. What I was clueless about was the mission of the NeoVim project. And they still say that they're not an IDE. If somebody had explained to me, and this is kind of why I'm saying this, because if you're a NeoVim person, and I'm speaking to all of you, if you're a NeoVim person and you love it and it's changed your life, don't just say NeoVim is awesome, use it because I do. Why are you not? You're stupid. Don't start with conclusions, start with explanations. And say, NeoVim is a great replacement or an editor or for people who like Vim, who want to edit powerfully on the same computer, who don't have to be productive on multiple computers. And it used to be that I thought that it was an either or scenario. You either had to use NeoVim, right, and convert your entire VimRC into Lua, which was wrong. If I had done even a minimal amount of research on that, I would have known that. And I didn't. I was too caught up in the dogma of NeoVim, which still exists, by the way, which also doesn't have an official production release yet, which is also a thing, right? And the second part of this is, that I didn't get that Vim is an editor for programmers. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's to quote Tej, if I remember right, a personal development environment. And when you put the word development in there, that means it's for software development. As soon as you do that, it's not a I'm coding Vim. Well, what do you don't like about Vim, right? It's like for old people or something. No, I know, but like if you say I don't like Vim because it's for old people, I hope I know you're kidding, but I hope people don't actually say that, because you really don't sound very intelligent when you say that. You just don't. And anybody in operations or the security field, or God, most of the academics in the world, it's like saying only old people use the terminal, right? People start with Vim. There's nothing wrong with starting with Vim. And I suggest that you actually learn Ed, VI, Vim, and then NeoVim. That's my progression. That's what I think you should learn. And we're going to get to the things I love about NeoVim at the end of the video, so please stay tuned. At the end of the video, I'm going to give you the list of the things I absolutely adore about NeoVim that have really turned me into a solid advocate for it. And I want the old folks out there, you know who you are, the people that are holding on to VI and Vim. And I'm looking at you, Dennis, Last Miles, and all the other people. There are people that there are curmudgeons like that who say things like color is juvenile. That's a direct quote from Rob Pike, who made Go. And I don't agree with them. Those people also need to listen, because they need to open their minds as well. And they need to consider these other alternatives as progressive enhancements to what they have available on the system. Okay, so why is Vim the only word not capitalized? The author's code did not pay attention. This is stupid. I don't know why I even had that in there. Get that out of there. Get that out of there. That's totally stupid. I do not think the word means what you think it means. Medical definition of hyperextensible means having the capacity to be hyperextended or stretched to a greater degree than normal. This is me being a pedantic asshole because honestly, I was like annoyed and no, stupid. In yoga, why would I do this? No. NeoVim is dangerous for beginners. And I stand by this, okay? I stand by this criticism and I really want to help people understand what I mean by this. Because people thrust NeoVim, particularly the pre-configured, people thrust the pre-configured NeoVim that doesn't have a single line of MRC in it and it's all Lua on newbies. And I think that is a mistake. I think that is a fundamental mistake and that it will do them wrong. The only time I feel like that would ever be appropriate is if the person pushing NeoVim has had a heart-to-heart with the individual they're talking about, perhaps in a mentor capacity, and they have said very clearly, all I ever want to do is develop software. Because otherwise, there is nothing wrong with learning enough VimRC to be productive on a system that only has Vim. You follow me? Right? What is it going to hurt? Well, they have to learn NeoVim. They really don't. They don't, right? They could look for some old fart like me and get a VimRC that has NVim in it as well. And now they can use that for NeoVim. Now they have a really great start using Vim, and they can run free writing plugins in Lua, which I'm going to write next month. My own plugin. That's right. I'm going to do it because there are reasons to write it. And we're going to get to the positives about NeoVim. And the single biggest reason to use NeoVim is Lua. Beyond any of the other trending reasons, that is the single biggest reason to use it. And we'll get more to that later. And so this thing, I still stand by my critique of NeoVim being dangerous for users because people that push NeoVim they would be happy if the person that they're talking to never used Vim in their life and they never even looked at VimRC syntax. And quite frankly, it sucks ass. I hate it. I hate VimRC. I hate that whole Vim script syntax. I always have. I always hated it. I never really fully learned it. I've written all kinds of stuff in it, but it's horrible. It's absolutely just, it's not designed to do anything really useful. It needed to die a long time ago. And one of the reasons I'm pushing for NeoVim so hard is because I want to see it die. I would love to see a production, listen, quote me on this. I would love to see a production version of NeoVim developed and deployed into the enterprise so it's in the standard APT repositories and can take the place of VI for people who wanted to get it on their systems. As of this moment, it's not production ready. I use it, but it doesn't even have a 1.0 yet on it. So to that end, I am making a video here apologizing and saying, hey, I am here with you, NeoVim. I will help you as best I can. Okay. And I'm sorry for being an asshole. So Unix, so again, but please understand the person that you're trying to push NeoVim on. Understand what their needs are. And by the way, the editor for them, if they're trying to be a Linux contributor, they might actually want to be an Emacs user. If they want to work in academia, particularly in the area of astronomy, they might want to pick up Emacs, right? Because there's a lot of stuff written on it. The point is, seek to understand what the person is going to try to do before you tell them what to do because you like your thing. That's all I'm asking. And so that I've seen people push their favorite thing without actually caring about the person that asked the question all the time. And that pisses me off. It does. It makes me angry because it's narcissistic and self-aggrandizing and it's more of a flex than it is anything. You don't give a shit about the person you're trying to help. And that's strong language, but I've seen it. I've seen that happen. And more reasons. I still haven't moved over, but I still have my original point-to-point evaluation. Oh, hey, there's the link. Okay, let's go add the link, and then I'm going to delete this link as well. All right, so again, after this video, this stuff will no longer exist. So this is the only evidence that I ever did all this stuff. To NeoVim or not to NeoVim? An honest question, but no, hell no. This was when I first started. This is the one I mentioned earlier in the video. NeoVim, which uses the NVim command, is unfortunately a popular replacement for Vim. It provides no additional value for most users, can actually harm your Vim learning. NeoVim's most significant failure is not technical at all. NeoVim design team has demonstrated complete lack of understanding of VI core values, propositioning as well, a total disregard for the fundamental Unix philosophy. This is a people who don't even know the filter command. There are very core people on the NeoVim project who never even knew the filter command existed. Okay. There's also people who I've been promoting NeoVim who have been calling Vim, who have been calling VI V or Vi. And I joke with them about that, but you know, so here's the advantage that people usually present when they ask. They include documented by NeoVim project itself. The disadvantage is better configuration. NeoVim looks at XDG for config. This is cool, but this is, as I said, it's kind of a dick move. There's really no reason they couldn't have just read VimRC where it was at. And then people like me, it just would have worked and we wouldn't have cared. And we probably would have tried it more. We didn't know we had to add those 3 lines, right? And this is me saying, I don't know how to make it work. I'm not going to copy the VimRC to some other location. That's totally stupid. I'm not going to create an extra symlink just because you want to be a dick about it, right? So I got around that one. That was the most important one. Better defaults. I don't agree with this. The syntax is pretty good. Well, we're going to get into the positive things later. Multiple API and plugin support. Vim has a well-documented plugin thing. I said that's fine, but that means they haven't been using full shell integration for extensibility because they don't know what filter commands are. Have a clear internal API. Think about Wayland versus X. Changing features. A single feature that has a change is ridiculously relevant is, let's see. What is even worse is that NeoVim has actually corrupted the expected behavior of the current VI and Vim options and X commands. This I actually made a video really complaining about, and I deleted it. They throw errors, and apparently there's some way to stop it from throwing errors. But I think the best way to do that is to just, put those under if NVim, and if not, then so those command options won't get thrown. I do think it's dangerous and stupid. So the fact that their VimRC has things you can't have in there it craps out on certain things that are supported by legacy VI. Missing legacy features. They ripped the Perl support out. I actually recently found there's Perl support in NVim again. I don't know why they added it back, but it's definitely back. And then remove features. So they remove view, which I'm really sad that they remove view. View is the synonym that opens up Vim in read-only mode, so you can't make a change. It's actually the standard way that the password file or sudo vi sudo opens because it wants to do it in read-only mode. There is a way to do this with NVim, but you have to add a specific flag. So if you're going to do this, it's a relatively minor thing, but you'd have to add a function or something called view, and then you'd have to pass the command properly if it's NeoVim. You'd have to detect if it's NeoVim and then send the right thing. And I'm going to put that in my universal RC file because I'm okay with that. But that is still a problem. You can't log out. You can't run a shell from the thing. I never really cared about that, but still. And they removed Smile for some reason. Actually, did they add that back? Let's see if they actually added it back. I doubt very seriously they did. I don't think they did. Vim temp foo. All right, so Smile. Wait, wrong thing. Did they add Smile? Did they Smile? No, they added Smile back. They added Smile back. That's cool. You can't read it, but it's cool. They added it. Why would they pull it and then add it back? I don't understand that at all. I really don't. When I went through the source code, they ripped it out. It was totally out. I wonder if they just hadn't ported it over yet. I bet that was it. I feel bad for calling that out. You know what that is? I think I know the reason for that. I'm going to give them another thing. It goes without saying, but give people the benefit of the doubt, my friends. And I failed. I failed on this part. Let me show you another way I failed. Okay. Yeah. So in this write-up, I assumed nefarious intent that they actually said, we hate those boomers. We're going to take out their Perl. We're going to take away their Perl from them. And we're going to ignore their VimRCs because they need to put it in the right place because they're too old and curmudgeon-y and we hate them. And oh my God, we're going to take out the Smile just to piss them off. That's not at all what happened. That's not at all what happened. You know what happened? With the benefit of the doubt, and I feel so stupid at realizing this now, looking back at how I acted and behaved. What they probably did is, now that I know that it's alpha software, it's never had an official production release, that what is more likely the case, and I'm pretty sure anybody would confirm this, is they waited on the least important functions to add those later. So they were busy dealing with other bugs and things that were more significant before they added back full compatibility. because they've been pushing full compatibility all along. And I'm like, it's not fully compatible. And they're like, well, yeah, but we're working on it. Okay. So maybe the smile command can wait until we get, oh, I don't know, all of the syntax is supported. Rob, you see what I'm saying? So if I had been more agreeable and if I had been willing to give them more benefit of the doubt in that case, then I could have avoided the thing. My comments on NeoVim led to the drama, the really massive drama between Prime and I don't want to even get in it. It ended up getting me all kinds of this. I don't want to even get into it, but it was ugly. It was ugly on all the sides. I got canceled all over, and it wasn't worth it. And I'm not apologizing to get back in the good graces of anybody. I give a shit. But and as you know, I regularly raid Prime, and I have no hard feelings towards any of them. This is me apologizing legitimately, but I'm not doing it because I want to buy credit with somebody. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. When you find out that you were wrong on something, own it. And frankly, tell people about it, because maybe somebody else has made the same mistake as you and they can walk with you in your steps. I change my opinion on things back and forth so often, GitLab, GitHub, that I got a nickname with my people that I've mentored, thousands of people. And their nickname for me is Flip Flop Rob. You know why? Because every time I get new information, I change my opinion. And in the tech world, that might be daily, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. Should I have done a little bit more research every time? Yeah, but you don't have time to do that level of research. You've got to try things. You know what I'm saying? And so here we are. Yes, just say no more accessible teams. Okay, so let me finish up my review. I know I told you this was going to be a long video, but I want to be thorough because this video is going to go viral, and I don't want it to go viral, but it is because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to create the NeoVim versus Vim thing all over again. And I'm not pumping the views. I'm doing the right thing. I'm using NeoVim. I'm owning how I was an asshole, and I'm telling them I'm sorry. All right, so more accessible team. Just no. No one ever believed that for a second. If anything, the Vim team is simply more capable and discerning than the NeoVim team. I don't agree with that at all anymore. Did Brahm and the gang have more experience than the NeoVim team? Yes, they definitely did. Were they more capable? Who knows? I'm not in a position to evaluate that. That was totally out of bounds and not a fair critique. External plugins in a separate process. I think this is kind of crazy. This might be true, but again, is irrelevant. Okay, so NeoVim started primarily because the people that wanted to get things into Vim couldn't get it in. That I have read. And they couldn't get their stuff into Vim because the Vim project was pushing back. One of the things they wanted to get in was to get concurrency. So at the time, waiting around for an LSP, it was impossible. You would have to wait forever. Now, every time I open up a Go program, let me show you. Not my emojis. Let me show you. Every time you open up a Go program, this is actually a really important thing. So every time you open a Go program up, it kicks off an LSP. Do you see down the bottom? And depending on how large the package is, it's a strong opinions weekly held. Weekly held. That's the saying. Strong opinions weekly held, loosely held. I actually changed mine to weekly, WEEKLY, because I change my opinion all the time. So anyway, the point of it is, in the old Vim, when you open this right here, you'd have to sit around and wait for the LSP to actually run until you could even do any editing. And there was no concurrent updating of the LSP in the background. There was no support for concurrency in Vim at all. And the NeoVim, I think I could be wrong on this, but I think the NeoVim project's primary complaint was that didn't exist. And so they forked it. They said, we're going to do our own thing. And they went off with their ball and they did their own thing. And they did a great job. I mean, honestly, they did. And they got concurrency. And guess what? They pressured Vim into doing the same thing. Right. In fact, the Vim project has even recently released a whole new version of Vim script because, again, pressure on how easy it is to write the code for configuration. So it's not bad to have 2 attempts at a thing as long as you present it that way. It's like another option. Make sure you understand all your options. Here's what we're doing. I actually think that's good. I wish that Starlink had a better competitor in Amazon. I wish they'd get their shit together because then that would push both of them to be better. That's not a bad thing. And Vim is totally trying to catch up to NeoVim. And quite frankly, that same thing could happen in the Rust community. If Rust makes a Linux compatible kernel and they have all Rust people who are, on board and they're not fighting against people over stupid things like has recently happened, who knows? They might actually catch up too, and that's not a bad thing. A lot of these things have to be rewritten. ARM versus Intel. You know, chip architecture, sometimes maintaining the backward compatibility with all the other stuff is just too hard. I tried to update Cobra and get rid of some stuff, and it's like, no, this stuff is crap, and there's stuff in there that I don't want. Like GetOps, I want to do my own thing, start a bonsai. Starting your own thing is not a bad thing, whether it be Alacrity or whatever, you know. And that's not what I'm. That's not the criticism I'm making. So external processes, yes, better support for Alacrity. Alacrity is amazing. But that's a separate issue. That should never have been listed as a NeoVim issue. Gives Vim healthy competition. This is true, and I just said it's a good thing. I still think it's a good thing. It has pains. Okay, the use of pains in Vim is an anti-pattern. And if people that are doing it who aren't using tmux are, frankly, they are missing out on a ton of opportunity. I don't have to really make the case here. This is people who are actually like reasonable and think through this understand that panes offer no additional benefit to an extra tmux window or an extra tmux pane. The difference is that I can split the pane with tmux and I can cut and paste between running processes and test output, which I regularly do, and I can put that into the other pane. To do that in Vim panes is a pain. See what I did there? All right, so bug stability has been reported. The NeoVim contains lots of bugs and stability issues. This is true. I actually hit one. This is still true. I was using NeoVim and I was letting the F-bombs go for like 20 minutes. Some people were here in my stream. I was letting them go for 20 minutes. I had converted to NeoVim a week ago, and in the middle, I fat fingered something, and all of a sudden, I had no syntax highlighting, and everything was all red in every file I opened, even if I closed the file out. It was obviously a really glaring NeoVim bug, and I was pissed because I was in the middle of a really fast going, code session. I completely lost my train of thought. I couldn't do anything, and the editor had just ruined me. It had totally ruined me. And if you want to get me angry, that's how you do it. And then my whole chat went into emergency mode. Oh my God, what can we do to fix this? And so we're like looking around, like, where does it even keep the state? And then we found somebody suggested the place I think it's .local state or something, which isn't even they make a big deal about being all XDG config compliant. Yeah, but on a Mac, they put the state data, they don't put it in the standard XGG cache directory. You know where they put it? .local state. You know who uses .local state? No one. No one uses that location. So if you're going to make a big stink about being all official new configuration location shit, you might want to put it in the right place, because we couldn't find it because you put your cache in the wrong place. You made a big thing about, .config is the XDG way to put it. That's the new modern way to put it. .local this, .local config, .local cache. You know what? No, it's not. It's whatever is an XDG config. And on Apple, there's a standard cache location. You'd know that, but they don't. And so we spent 20 minutes looking for the cache. I know we probably could have done a search faster than that. We didn't, because I had to find it myself. I was like, blah, 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 blah. I should have just searched. And so anyway, we finally found it, deleted the cache, blew out all of my NeoVim cache, which I didn't even know it was doing caching. I had no idea. No idea where it was being written or anything. It wasn't in any other normal place. So I learned a lot about NeoVim in that moment, and that's fine. But that was not standard, and it was a bug. A pretty bad bug, and NeoVim is still full of bugs, and it still hasn't got an official release. This is still a very valid concern, and the reason I was going to hold off on making this video for another month, even though I just refused, I finally did it. I was going to wait and do this after a month went by to make sure that I am really, my apology is sincere, but I wanted to be sure that I'm going to actually keep NeoVim. And I wanted to give it at least a month before, if I hit another, I tell you what, lately I've been getting bugs, the buffers aren't closing out, and I have to refresh, I have to glow out and rerun my script. I don't know if they're plugin author bugs or they're other bugs, but they're not annoying enough for me to stop using it. And let's take this into a positive place. Let's tell you all the reasons that you should use it. So this is at the end of the video. Dude, why so harsh on NeoVim? People are like, people are getting over-engineering, bullet makers, blah, blah, blah. This is just me being mean. I've already made that point. The point is I'm sick of defending myself, and I'm sick, and that's, I shouldn't have to defend myself, honestly. And I think most of those people would agree. Okay, so that this Zettelkasten is now gone, and because I don't agree with any of that again. Let's keep going. I know this is a really long video, but I don't want to do it again. I just want to do it once and be done with it. So please bear with me. Positive things. Okay, so how stupid is NeoVim for removing view? Let me do that one first. NeoVim has been frequently the point of conversation this last week because I just had a critical need to open a bunch of files. The absolute perfect use case was Vue. I want to open a whole bunch of files in Vue. But NeoVim team said the option for Vue was unable. You can't do it. You can't open because they're stupid. Because they're so fucking stupid. That wrong, mean, horrible. Rob. He needs to go away. He needs to stop that. Delete that. And again, I'm really sorry because there may be people who have not seen how the vitriol that I wrote about this, and I'm showing you now, and maybe this is going to drum up some old drama. I really hope not. I'm trying to tell you I was being an asshole and I was dumb and I need to get rid of it. NeoVim makes the other editors look like Stonehenge. That's an exact quote from a very passionate NeoVim user, word for word. Hashtag clueless. I don't agree with that at all. I don't. I don't agree. I don't agree. And I think the ageism implication is bad. Vim is minimal. It's more minimal than NeoVim. And being minimal is not a bad thing. There's a lot of people who need minimal. That's why Vim is the standard Linux editor on most systems. NeoVim is not. And until you know, they can come around to that. Vim uses cache Vim. No, it does not. It might use that, but that's not where the state was. We had to delete local / state for it to go away. And I was like, what the hell is this? There was like local dash. It was some other location. I can't even find it now. But it wasn't dash cache Vim. It wasn't cache Vim. NeoVim. Did I say Vim? Yeah, I meant NeoVim. Vim uses .cache Vim. I think mine does. I think mine actually does. And I think Vim actually probably has come around and started using the standards. But yeah. So anyway, Nano for the win. Yeah. We won't even talk about Nano. I actually made, go do Nano. Just say no to Nano. Yeah, I did a whole thing on that. Because Nano breaks you. It breaks your hands. It breaks your fingers. It breaks your muscle memory. It makes you want to type stupid things like Control-C instead of Escape. And not knowing it sends an interrupt. And why that's bad. NeoVim is shit and ruining developers. Okay, I'm kind of scared to open this one. I have a feeling I'm going to open it publicly, but I'm really scared to open it right now because I have a feeling it's really bad. Yeah. Update. Hey, look, I've shaken the hornet's nest of useless Rust and NeoVim fanboys by writing this. They hate being wrong. Meanwhile, tons of other... And by the way, they were wrong. The Rust people were totally wrong, and I was right. And everybody is saying Rust sucks. And I made a video saying I was right. NeoVim thing, on many of the things I was right, but most of them I was wrong. They hate being wrong. Meanwhile, tons of them are getting great jobs, and huge companies don't allow fucking Vim at all. But they really would rather rant in the ether. That's so unfair, Rob. I expect as much from the Rust crypto NFT people, but they can spot them all. Crypto said the same thing. I said crypto and NFT was for morons and is totally stupid, and you're all going to get scammed. And I was right. I'm sorry, I was right. And by the way, Vim has problems too. Try using Alpine and BusyBox container. Oh wait, you can't because you don't get NeoVim or even Vim. Yeah, you prove your clueless. I mean that kind of writing just is not needed. NeoVim is shit ruining new developers. Did I write that? I don't think I even wrote that one. Please tell me that I didn't write this. Who wrote this? Oh my God, I didn't ruin it. I didn't write it. Oh my God, I didn't write that. That wasn't even me. I thought that was me the whole time. I feel better. Somebody else was a bigger asshole than me. Kel Surprise. Okay, well there you go. Oh no. That was oh yeah, that was somebody posting. That was me. That was somebody posting. Hey, look at this, man. This guy, the shit in here is like, okay, I'm going to send you this link, and that's the only place I'm going to send a link. All right? I'm going to send you the link, and it's the only place. Okay? That was them sending me, this happens to me all the time. I make a shit post, and they make a Reddit post about it. That's what they did with Rust. And this was actually on a lobster page, which everybody knows that Rust has got problems now. It's so funny how trending it is to like hate on Rust now. I made a video about it. I think it's kind of funny. I don't even hate on Rust as bad as the people are hating on Rust now. So anyway, that was me. And but the reason I'm posting that is because if you want to see how much hate came out of the people, the NeoVim community, and how much all of a sudden I was on the defensive for not even liking it. And it wasn't because I started out being an asshole. If you read my very first post and I went through it, I was kind of, there was a point there it was a little personal, but the very first, I don't think we should use NeoVim post turned into a fight, and I was getting bludgeoned, and I became an asshole because I was being defensive, which I do, which is bad. I don't want to do that. NeoVim, which uses NVim command, is unfortunately a popular replacement of Vim. This is bad. It's ruining beginner developers. Blah blah blah. In other words, VI Vim, NeoVim would be a reasonable learning path, but beginners don't do that. I already talked about that. My disappointment about NeoVim is not personal. Good people, some very close to me, use and advocate NeoVim. This is true. This is absolutely true. And I actively campaign against it. I fucking hate it, but hey, it's the same for crypto shell currency. The reason I hate it, the number one reason, was because I couldn't use my VimRC, and that was wrong. So NeoVim's most significant failure is not technical at all. NeoVim design team has demonstrated completely, like I already did this one. Here are the advantages people usually present when blah blah blah. Yeah, I already covered that. Better configuration. NeoVim looks like XGG home is a configuration file, except for its cache. It doesn't use that. It doesn't use XGG cache home. It doesn't for some reason, and that's still a bug. Unfortunately, we have all the 2 decades of dot files, but fuck you. This really pissed me off because all I had to do was load my VimRC if it existed, but they said, no, we're not doing that, boomer. It still pisses me off that they don't do that. Even though it's just 3 lines in NVim then in NVim whatever. Better defaults. The second best thing, I already covered all these. This looks like a repeat. This is just a repeat of the one that I was looking for this earlier. This is the repeat of the web one that we already went through. So I was actually looking for that. I'm glad it's gone in the game. So there. So there. So K and NeoVim. All right. So the only thing left in my Zotocast about NeoVim is now the positive things about NeoVim. And let's talk about that at the end of the video. So if you made it this long, I appreciate your patience and your forgiveness. So it says here, NeoVim, the mob mentality of NeoVim, you're more likely to encounter someone using NeoVim today than Vim. And you at least are more likely to find them on the internet. Now, I have a theory about that. I have a theory that the V users, to quote Zorchenheimer, who had to start using it because there was no Vim on an AIX system he was forced to support because the old people died, or, Vi, as Prime calls it, we don't have numbers on that, right? It's not just old people. It's people all over doing things that don't make YouTube videos that are not being counted, and they're not answering Stack Exchange surveys. And there's no statistics. There's absolutely zero statistics. So the conclusion that there seems to be more people on NeoVim to collaborate with, as far as we know, that only holds true for people who are making YouTube videos or live streaming. And quite frankly, people that are making YouTube videos and live streaming are not the authorities on enterprise file editing, either in software development or in operational capacity. They just generally aren't. They can share their experience, and that's fantastic, and I'm glad they do, but there is just not, a lot of evidence about it. Distro2 very famously switched back between Vim and Emacs and Vim and Emacs, and I asked myself, what is he using it for? Editing his own personal projects and stuff. Is he working in what capacity is he working? What's the best tool for the job? It's like asking me, what's your favorite hammer? Well, I like ball peen hammers. But how do you take nails out? I don't need to take nails out. Ball peen hammers suck. You see how stupid that is? It's really stupid to argue about a tool unless you know what you're trying to do with the tool. And if you're trying to maintain a large code base on the same laptop and you never have to go onto another system, NeoVim is absolutely ideal. I think NeoVim is way better than Emacs for that reason. Why? Because your muscle memory is also going to follow you onto a system where you're using Vim or Vi or V or VI or whatever you want to call it, right? It's still going to follow you. So NeoVim is actually the single best big ass editor to use in that crowd, terminal-based editor. Because why? Because your skills are going to follow you. You learn Emacs, and again, unless you're on a system that's got Emacs, you're great. If you're going to go get on a multi-user jump box in your DevOps environment, like I do for my high-performance machine learning support, that machine had Vim 7 on it when I got hired 3 years ago. We had to beg them to put a VI newer than version 8 on. And my VimRC didn't have support for if statements in it because it was VI 7. That's how old it was. And we said, please, 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 at least update the Vim to the latest version. God help us if we were trying to get NeoVim on there, right? Or Emacs, right? So the point is, having NeoVim is better. This is the plus. NeoVim is better because it has a bigger, outspoken community. There's a lot of people to reach out to. My perception, and I have no data behind this, is that is not as true for things like Emacs. There's a huge Emacs community, don't get me wrong. And most of the Linux kernel people are Emacs people. And I think Emacs is fantastic. I really do. There's a lot of people who use it. I just didn't ever learn it, and I never had a desire to. And I was always kind of a security hacker kind of person who needed to have VI on the system. And so I'm perfectly content being one of the 2 people who uses VI. And so that's why I think NeoVim is actually a better choice, because there's a lot of people that use it. It's got a big community. It's got a lot of energy and fanfare around it. And you're also picking up Vim skills at the same time if you do it right. If you do it right, that same critique that I made about NeoVim being bad for beginners can actually be a positive if you do it right. If you learn Vim properly, and then when you add NeoVim on, if you get stuck on Vim, you're fine because you know it, right? It's not like you're going to get hobbled because you learn things that are NeoVim only. Or you become dependent on a Vim plugin, on a Lua plugin that you didn't really need to become dependent on, that you could have done with a Unix filter had you had it, right? So you don't even know what a Unix filter is, right? But if you learn Vim, then you know what a Unix filter is. You get on a system that doesn't have Lua plugins, your favorite stuff, you can use that. So you want to sort a list, you use sort, right? So you want to sort a list, blah, blah, blah. Should we sort this list right here? We're going to use a filter right now. Let's sort this list. Let's sort it right here. I'm going to use a filter command. So exclamation point, and then I have to, my fingers know it, right curly bracket, right? And then I pass that to sort. Watch what happens. Boom. That's a filter command. Those commands all the sort thing's already installed on every Unix system that ever existed. So doing what I did to sort that, I didn't need a Vim plugin. I didn't need a Lua plugin. I just knew how to use the filter command. And if you don't know how to use the filter command, you want to do some advanced math, right? Let's do some advanced math. Let's do some advanced divided by blah, blah, blah. Let's set the scale. Let's set the scale equals to 2. All right. Wouldn't it be great if we could put that math in there? Bang, bang, BC. Oops. What did I do wrong, everybody? It didn't do it. My thing didn't work. My test doesn't work. I'm doing something wrong. BC. It's not doing it. Why isn't it doing it? I don't know what's going on. So anyway, you can pass this stuff to BC, and it should just replace it. There it goes. I don't know why that other one's not doing it. Anyway, so you get the point, right? You can do division. You can do times blah, blah, blah. You can do the thing. BC requires stud in. Oh, that was stud in. This is it. BC, watch, stud in. There it is. It works. I think it was smaller than 1. You're right. Thank you. No, you don't need that. You don't need any of it. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to show you the thing you can do here. So, plus blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let me show you. So bang, bang, 2 exclamation points. Replace the current line with the output of the following command. That sends the line that I'm currently on to standard input, which BC takes, and then replaces it with the output. I call this Vim magic, and people with filters don't know it. Another thing too, I use this, watch, some header here. All right. Another thing, no plugins, people, just a script. So I'm going to do bang, bang, H title, and it makes a title and it centers it and everything. What is that I just did? It's just a shell script, friends. It's just a shell script. VIC H title. It's just a shell script. It's a shell script that calculates the width and puts it out there. I didn't need a plugin for that, right? The thing that's really great about this is I can actually use this from the command line. So I can say echo something here, pipe that to H title. So if I wanted to, I could put it in a script. Why would you limit yourself to a Lua plugin that only works in NeoVim when you can write a command that does things that you might want to use in a script, or from the command line using the filter, or from within VI using the filter command? I don't understand why people don't get this. Most of the people, when they see it, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that existed. So my plea to you is make sure you understand everything about Vim before you pick up NeoVim, because no filter needed. No, I mean, it probably is, but the point is that anything you can do on the command line can be done here. For I in 1 to 2034 do echo I dot done, right? Watch that. You see that? I'm writing. I do this all the time. I write shell. This is why you should learn Bash, by the way. If you learn Bash and you're using the Bash editor, you can actually use code to write code live. Watch. Pass that to Bash, and there I got my whole list. Right? You want to do ASCII art or whatever, you can do that same sort of thing. I mean, anything you can run on the command line that accepts standard input can be run as a filter command. Okay? So, but yeah, sort is probably one that you could get away with. You want to put a calendar in here, cal. You get a calendar, right? So I mean, there's just a million things. I have one that will actually calculate it for a table, a markdown table. It will actually look at the first column of the markdown table and put the total at the bottom. And it's just infinite possibilities because you're using the Unix system. You're doing it from the command line. You don't need a plugin. You don't. I think plugins should be relegated to things that are really advanced, like talking out to the internet or something, or syntax highlighting. I do think that those kind of things would be nice to have. You can have code macros. So I don't use visual mode at all because I hate it. Firstly, I use this. You want to comment it? Use comment like that. Use CMT. I mean, and look, you don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. The point I'm trying to make is that at least know what you're giving up. You know what I mean? A little command like this is perfect for that kind of thing. In fact, I can change what comment I want on the first line. Most of the time I want to do it. By the way, this allows me to do more precise selections. Visual mode, you have to push a bunch of keys. You have to spam crap to get all the way to the one you want, right? BC-L. Yeah, well, God, that's a big one. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of commands that you can do here. The point is just make sure you understand how to use Vim before you use NeoVim, but then be my guest to use Vim. What are some things that NeoVim does about it? Floating screen window key mode. So this is actually something that I have been using a lot lately. You see the screen key at the top of the screen. And this is something that I don't think Primogen knows about it. I think he might be interested in adding it. He's using screen key because he got Linux on the desktop. I stopped using Linux on the desktop years ago for reasons that I don't want to get into right now. I'm using a Unix system. That's all I tell people. But you see the screen key stuff at the top? That's using something called WinBar. That is 100% a NeoVim Lua plugin, and that is not possible in Vim. And I am super jazzed that I have that. People have been asking me for, what are you typing? And by the way, this gives up the fact that I'm doing escape. People are saying, why are you using escape and not Control C? Because they've been watching Prime. I'm going to give him shit for the rest of his days until he tells people that using Control C is a bad idea because that sends an interrupt, and that's a bad habit to give to a beginner. So I'm using Control left bracket to generate escape sequences at the top rather than go all the way up with my pinky to the escape. So again, this is not a Vim class, but I wanted to show you this. It's what most people use in Collaborate and easy to collaborate. I already talked about that. Live display is far more informative. So this is absolutely true. This is really so the help stuff is way cleaner, except for when it's not. And I don't know if you can see that WinBar. I think there's a bug in WinBar, and I think it actually messes up my referencing to stuff. You still have GD if you want to go look at the source of a thing. So you want to look at the source for this, and you want to open up. Did you see what I just did there? I opened up the Golang source code to see the source code of Sprintf. Let's go back. It'd be Control. What is it? Oh. And so you can go, people ask, how can you get around all the files? You just navigate by jumping back and forth to the different things. You want to see the documentation on it, just do capital K, which has been supported in Vim since the very first day. That has been supported. That's a standard Vim thing, no matter what language you're in. That is not specific to a specific language. Never has been. That's not a NeoVim thing. Yes, I have a Vim class. I do. I give Vim classes in NeoVim, and November 3rd, we're going to start up again, and we're going to go through all the Vim stuff. So, and I have done it for many years, since 2013. I've taught 9-year-olds how to use Vim. That's a true story. I had 9-year-olds install Linux on their laptop by themselves with no help. No kidding. So ability to leave vimrc where it is, a small thing. I'm over it. bar block cursor indicates insert mode. This is actually super cool. I don't know if you can tell, but my Zelicast is not using NeoVim because it's inferring VI from a different place. That's why I don't have the screen keys. But if over here, one of the things I really like is insert mode changes to bar mode. That is a NeoVimism that I love. That's a NeoVimism. It's a small thing, but my God, do I love that. That is such a small thing. I don't know why Vim doesn't do that. But that is an attention to detail that actually the NeoVim people have demonstrated, and I really love it. I love it. I think that is going to be one of many little things that add up to be really cool. Let me show you something, one of the best things of all. It's called NeoVim debug mode. And so when I actually change something, you see that? You see? Okay, let me see that. Let me see. You see how I save that? Okay, you see how it puts this little fire over here and in the gutter, and it has this really clean block over here. The thing that's so cool about that is that this actually, if there's like 2 or 10 things wrong with that line, that little bar grows in size. And I know that that's a small thing, but that is amazing as a developer. As a developer, having that little bar, not to mention it's not ugly. Let me show you the same thing in Vim. So if I do the same thing in Vim, it's got a different emoji, right? Because I set a different emoji in my VimRC, and it's a different, you have to set it in a different place for NeoVim. And I just use the defaults, by the way, that came with the debugger. But then the built-in one does this completely ugly line, and it's kind of hard to read, and it's not nearly as clean. Is it a reason to not use NeoVim or to use NeoVim? Probably not. But I tell you what, when you spend 12 hours a day staring at code, it matters. Those little things matter. And that is one of the positive things about NeoVim that I will say. NeoVim is a much more pleasant experience. It's so far, I hate saying this, but the NeoVim interaction has been faster, and that's because I don't have an LSP running. Even with my Go LSP running, I'm not running an external LSP. So far, it's been snappy. I mean, it's been faster than what I remember Vim doing. That is totally anecdotal. I can't tell you that that's actually true. But yeah, so you disable the changing of the cursor explicitly. You don't like it. Some people don't like it, and that's fine. So absolutely love the changing of the cursor. I do. I love it because it's just, I don't know why I love it. Something else that I thought, and this is why I added NeoVim. The number one reason I added NeoVim was to help me from doing a bunch of typing. And this is something that I have been holding off on. Honestly, this is where you could call me a boomer and you would be right. I was like, I don't need file completion. I don't need symbol completion because, I'm a hacker. I tell you what, if you're a developer, you need completion, particularly today. After the Kubernetes code base has got 80 character, complete. Nobody wants to type that. Seriously, if you're trying to do if you're trying to work with the Go standard library at all, there are identifiers in there that are 30 characters long. Nobody wants to type that. If you're typing that, you probably need to ask yourself why, because completion is pretty damn fast, and I'm still trying to get good with it. So I do install, and I just do tab, and usually it gets all the things that I need. And I can get my thing. I always error. I don't know why I do that. I do that. I'm still trying to figure completion out. I've always been a huge completion nut. I made Bonsai so that I can have better command line completion for my tools. Why would I not want completion in my scripts? I still also have this one I don't understand. So this one, for some reason, I have to go down and back to it to get it to take, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so one of the things I do not like is I thought I was not going to like is the popping up of like different options while you're typing. And it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me, not nearly as much as I thought it would bother me. So I was wrong on that. That's totally fine. Yeah, C tags is great, but it's only for C. C tags is only great for only C. I'm making a video. Hi, honey. Good to see you. I'm just about, I don't mean to, I'll be right back. My wife's here, so I got to close up this video. We're almost done. Bar block indicates the insert mode. We got that Lua instead of Vim script. So let's actually end on the single biggest reason. There's inspect too. Let's talk about inspect, and then we'll end on the biggest one. Inspect lets you see exactly what's going on. I'm not in NeoVim. So expect actually is something I actually wrote a function in Vim script to do the same thing. Inspect tells you what your syntax stuff is. So when you're dealing with your syntax overloads and stuff, you know what you're dealing with. And I had to write a function in Vim script to do that before. And it was pain because it didn't always work. That is one of the best additions. If you're writing your own syntax additions and stuff like that, then you might, oh, thank you for that. But if you're writing your own additions to it, to something, you want to know you want to customize your highlighting. Inspect is I probably should hotkey it. But this is actually one of the coolest things ever made because you can actually do your own stuff, right? So let me show you what I mean here. You can do VimRC. So I've done a bunch of customization to go with my group box that it didn't quite work. Gosh, Rob, and so my highlight commands, right? Where are they? Where are they? Let me see if I can find them. Here they are. So here's all my highlights, and couldn't always tell what the colors are. I mean, you guys probably know you can do HI here, and it'll show you all your highlights, and you can tell the type. But to know what syntax you're hovering over with the inspect command, this does not exist in Vim. And this is perfect because it gives you exactly the information you're trying to get, so you can do your customized extensions to your own syntax. It's amazing. It's a good reason to use it. Almost a good reason all by itself to use NeoVim over Vim if you're okay with it. That almost is. If you're a guy like me. And the progressive enhancement with NeoVim, that's how you skip the stuff and just have NeoVim stuff in your VimRC. So you have a single VimRC everywhere. That is important. But the single biggest reason, I'm going to end on this before I go, is Lua. And I joke with Lua all the time. I used to call NeoVim, Vim for Roblox players. Because that's actually based on an interesting story. I have nothing against Lua. I joke all the time about it. It's a great language. It's the most embeddable language ever made by humans, in my opinion. And Roblox was made with it. I used to teach at school, and we started teaching Roblox because they could learn how to code in Roblox. Until Roblox said, if you're playing our game and you're on Linux, we were going to ban you. And I was like, no more Roblox. So I have bad feelings about that because Roblox was actually a really cool game. Lua plugins. The last time World of Warcraft, people make all game plugins and mods are always done in Lua. So Lua is kind of known as that thing that modders learn. But to be fair, the Tivoli software product that I maintained at IBM also had Lua embedding to do its extensions, and Pandoc. If you want to extend Pandoc to add a different syntax or modify an existing syntax, you can add your own Lua plugins to Pandoc, which is written in Haskell. So Lua is a solid language. Learning Lua will get you a job. Learning VimScript is never going to get anybody a job. Lua and C is a marriage in heaven, absolutely. And that goes for Python too, right? Because Python is the best C stub language in the world. That's why all the AI people do it, because they can write C code and fool them, put it behind Python and never know. TensorFlow, PyTorch, they're all C That's all C, by the way. It's all C. Python keeps getting all the credit for all the AI stuff. It's actually C code that's got a layer on top of it by Python, because that's what academics do. Academics write really complicated C code to do fancy things, and then they put a nice happy Python layers on top of it. That's what they've been doing forever, and they're just continuing to do it. That's why AI is dominated by Python, which is really C. So then you add, but Lua, what I'm trying to say is that anything with Lua integrates really well with C and pretty much any dynamic, including Go. So it's got bindings and all that stuff. It's a really great language to learn. You could actually get paid to code in Lua all day. You would never get paid to code in VimScript all day. Why is that an advantage? Because if you have the opportunity to screw around and learn Lua doing your personal projects while you're screwing around with NeoVim, and maybe you have a baseline VimRC so that you're compatible and you can use Vim anywhere, right? Probably a good idea. You want to know enough Vim to be able to read the VimRC file from somebody else on a system, or a copy yours around so your Vim is productive anywhere. I still believe that. That doesn't mean you should learn VimRC. Honestly, you shouldn't. It's horrible. You should spend that time learning Lua. And therefore, we come to my final reason, and it's the biggest single reason to use NeoVim above any other reason, is that once you allow yourself to have a standardized portable VimRC, now you can really go to town. You can have all kinds of fun making amazing Lua plugins now that you know how to use a Unix filter. Make sure you don't make a plugin that can be better done from the command line using a shell script, because then you could use the shell script in other programs. You can combine them together in the Unix way and do that. But if you can find like a syntax plugin or some reason to do it, you have a lot of good examples and good opportunity to learn Lua, which will get you a job. So as you know, I'm all about helping people get jobs and maintain jobs and upskilling. That is my fundamental reason for being. It's the reason I'm streaming. And I'm going to say without any regret at all, that NeoVim will get you closer to having, it will teach you more skills that will get you a job, assuming you learn VimRC enough to do that, than Vim ever will. And that's a fundamental change in my position based on the fact I was like, since the VimRC is the only thing they really need to learn, there's nothing wrong with learning Lua. In fact, Lua is way better than VimRC. And when I realized that, I was like, damn, NeoVim is better for beginners. With one caveat, that you learn how to use a VimRC and you learn Vim everywhere. If you learn Vim or RC everywhere and you learn how to use, if you learn how to use Vim first and you have a VimRC that'll go anywhere, and number two, you know how to make a Unix filter and use the Unix filter command, then go to town. Go to town learning Lua and doing all the fun things that you want to do in Lua. And in that sense, NeoVim will actually do more for beginners by helping them learn skills that are actually profitable. Now, you have to decide whether you want to invest a ton of time making a bunch of pretty new Lua plugins instead of writing some Go Enterprise, cloud development code, or Java or Python or anything that's going to get you a job. But Lua is at least not a wasted skill. That's what I'm trying to say. Spending your time, going through the Vim script book like I have the book, it's completely wasted skill, totally wasted in 2024. What are you going to do it for? Why do you need it? I mean, first of all, you don't need half the stuff that you need to write a VimRC script for. You just need somebody to get you the baseline one to get it working in the first place. And if you're never, ever, ever going to be on a system that's ever going to have a VimRC file, I mean, maybe you just learn to use bare bones Vim with no modifications whatsoever. And then you just go to town doing nothing but Lua. And that helps you have, now you have Lua skills. You're going to bloat your NeoVim, and that's up to you to decide if you want to do. People who don't like NeoVim don't like me saying this stuff because they're like, no, that thing, they joke about how all the latency from tree sitter and things like that. And they're not wrong. I mean, you can make NeoVim as slow as VS Code if you want. And I'm not saying don't do it, but there might be a better way to spend your time. That's all I'm saying. So I can use my VimRC as input in NeoVim. Absolutely. So let me just end one on that. So the reason that the main reason I changed my tune is that I was so mad that they wouldn't read my VimRC where I put it, but then somebody showed me this. This is all you need. You just need to put this in your .config/nvim/init.vim. And this could be Lua. I tried to port this to Lua and everything fell apart because I don't Lua that well. I probably would do this in Lua if I were to do it because all the plugins and everything is always written in Lua and NeoVim community. So I would probably use an init.lua here if you know how to do that. Why do you care? Because this file only exists on a system that has NeoVim installed, period. And then you saw my bash RC, right? I already showed you this. But my bash RC progressively adds support for Vim depending on what it detects on the system. So if it has Vim on the system, then my VI, my fingers open Vim. If I have NeoVim on the system, it opens NeoVim. I'm using VI the whole time. You can use Vim if you want. Doesn't matter. But the point is that I'm now opening the thing that I want to do, and I don't even have to think about it. I don't even have to think about it. In fact, I was doing the Zettelkasten thing, and it was Vim and not NeoVim. I couldn't even tell the difference. Why? Because both of them are using the same VimRC. So other than the screen key, right? And the screen key is sectioned out by an if statement. So this has been, this has been a Bannerfish NeoVim. Let's see if we can give a, we can do the NeoVim thing. I need one only to read Lua or the Vim stuff. Yes, with the config. I mean, and that's up to you, right? So once again, if you skipped all the way to the end, I hope you'll forgive me for being just plain mean about it. The reason that I was mean about it was because I felt like I was on the defensive, because so many people were saying some really horrible things about me because I refused to get on board with NeoVim, and that pissed me off. And so it became a little bit of a war. And I don't like that happened. I wish I had a thicker skin and had been able to do my own research, which I did originally. I was really much more kind in the beginning, and then I really got jaded because people were just letting go, man. They were making all kinds of attacks. If you read that Reddit thread, you'll see it. I mean, it's just the internet, at its worst, making no sense at all. There was no objective. There were no objective evaluations about it. It was just all attack the old guy, and I was like, fuck you. I was so pissed off that at that point I was like, the next Rust person or NeoVim person who comes in my chat who says, why aren't you using NeoVim? I would rip them a new one because I would assume that they were just like all the other assholes. And that's wrong. That's wrong. And quite frankly, all of us need to stop doing that. Whether it's NeoVim or Rust or who you're going to vote for. We have to start assuming not the worst in people. We have to start asking ourselves, why are they doing it that way? Why did they rip Smile out? You know what I mean? It's out this morning. Someone said that to them, right? So I'm glad that you guys are confirming that this is happening. And if you are that person, if you really love the thing, seek to understand before you flex. Please do that. And I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of flexing before I sought to understand many times. And that is not a good thing. And we are seeing that problem everywhere. We're seeing it in the Rust in the kernel conversation. We're seeing it in modern politics. We're seeing it even on Twitch streams. And it is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. I mean, it's, we disagree on a thing. Okay, great. Go use the other thing. People always tell me, well, why do you get bent out of shape? Just use the thing if you don't like it. Just don't use it. I said, that's not what's triggering me. What's triggering me is the entire thread of people attacking my character and personality and appearance. That's what's triggering me. All right. Why not Rust, but why Go? Why not JS, but why VS Go? Yeah. So people get militant about everything. And, people frequently, it's funny because a lot of people will critique me using the same thing I'm saying. They would say, why don't you just not use it if you don't like it? And just shut your mouth. And the reason is because of all the other people who open their mouth. And not just to say why they prefer their thing, but to attack everybody else. And quite frankly, I think we need people who disagree and who need to say why they disagree. And if we don't have that, we lose. Prime himself just quoted, he was quoting Torvalds and reading about some stuff and talking about the toxicity over there, but he did praise the fact that they have really healthy arguments over there. I don't think they're healthy, but they have arguments over there, and they would arrive at a conclusion that was better. And the fact that there were these heated disagreements are good. We get a better product out of it that way, as long as it doesn't paralyze the product. So a disagreement and doing things a different way and saying, I'm not doing it that way, don't get mad, get busy, that's good for the world. What's not good for the world is ad hominem and making fun of somebody for their bouncy ball, which is, I just think it's cute now. I honestly do. I got no negativity about that, so I'm going to go now. That was a very long video. A lot of you aren't going to make it through the whole thing, but that is the only thing. Anything negative in my Zotocasting about NeoVim has been banished and removed, and only the positive things remain. Anything that I actually have that's a legitimate negative about NeoVim will show up as an issue in the NeoVim project, and I will actually open an issue or look for one and say, hey, why did this thing die here? Why aren't you using the cache directory the way you're supposed to, instead of using, .local state? That is going to be a bug. I'm actually going to open that bug on the NeoVim project because I do, contrary to what everybody might think about me, I actually want to see the NeoVim project succeed. I really do. I sincerely do. And that's the end of that one. You like my terminal? That's just ASCII term. Yeah. All right, everybody. That's the end of that video. And I'm going to start that upload. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back. I am going to take a few minutes to go check base with my wife. And then when we come back, maybe we'll do some Go coding. All right.